Hello, friends. Welcome to the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast. Today on the podcast, I have Pete Mohr, and he, if you remember, was on the podcast with me, I don't know, a few months ago, maybe. And we did a lot of talking and it was very fun. And so I'm very excited to have him back. He is the owner and CEO of Simplifying Entrepreneurship. And he coaches entrepreneurs and has lots of great ideas to share with us today. So I'm excited to have you here again, Pete. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks, Julie. It's always a pleasure chatting. And I was looking forward. You said, "Hey, would you consider doing another one?" I'm like, "Yeah." We had a great conversation all around that, the 5 P's of turning your frustrations into freedoms as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I love that. So
I'm like you said, I'm that was a few months ago, and I'm sort of 3 months down the road of writing that book, and hopefully we'll be able to launch it this fall.
Awesome. Good. Well, I'm going to follow your example too, because I've said a few times that I'm writing a book, and I am, but I have to hold myself to the deadlines. So when you get yours done, hopefully mine will be close behind.
Sweet.
So today we kind of talking about communication and staff meetings, team meetings, we call them.
Sure.
So what are we going to talk about that?
Well, I think the interesting thing, Julie, is that, and it does, I own retail stores. Most of your listeners have vet practices, and it really doesn't matter what type of business you run, but if there's several people in the business and there's no sort of formal rhythm of communication, then there's problems.
Right.
Things happen. And from a leadership perspective, it's like, it's our job to ensure that communication happens throughout the organization everywhere it needs to be. And if you kind of pull it back to those, the 5 Ps, what's the promise of your business that you're offering to your clients, your paying clients, right? So, and everything you're doing, all the meetings along the way are all around delivering that promise so that your customer can go from having a problem to having a better life, so that they're going to pay and you're going to be, business. That's the circle of the business, right?
Right.
And our job is to keep this rhythm going from leaders, right? We're keeping this rhythm going. And, people say, "Oh, well, I don't need another meeting just to meet." Well, it's true. We don't want to have meetings just to meet, but we do need to have meetings to communicate. Right. And those communications need to, from a leadership perspective, we need to be continuously, going through, as much as it sounds like a grind, repeating what that promise is. We need to make sure everybody's aligned. It's aligning our product, aligning our process, aligning our people to the promise. So that's actually, our last podcast was around that. Right. But that's actually how I set up most of the meeting rhythms. It's really, when you're thinking about that, you start off, and I always like to start off meetings with good news. So it's always about, tell me something, and we don't need to spend 40 minutes of a 60-minute meeting on good news. It's like 5 minutes. Let's get in the right framework. Let's get in the right, like, what happened good, either personally or professionally, since we last met. Oh, my daughter just graduated school, or my son got his braces off, or maybe we had our best sales day ever, and Mrs. Jones came in and we had our biggest ticket ever sold at the store. Whatever the case is, it could be business, it could be not.
Yeah.
But
well, and in our case, it might be a good outcome.
For sure.
So-and-so was sick last week, and today I called and he's feeling so much better, or whatever. It could be anything like that. Yeah.
And you know what, it's we were able, a pet came in and thought we were going to lose the pet, and we had to amputate a leg, but the pet's doing really well,
right?
And continues on, and life is good, owner's happy, all that stuff. Like, give us the happy stories, right? Because that gets our mental mind, gets our mindset in the right frame of work to start thinking about positively adjusting what we need to adjust in order to deliver our promise. So then we repeat our promise. What's our promise? and, and that's developed. So however,
Yeah, and
whatever your,
tell us again, for people that may not have listened to that first podcast, just briefly,
yeah,
when you're talking about promise, part of
it's
that's
your
your
why.
vision, your mission, your why, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just want to make
So
sure they know what we're talking about.
yeah, so from that side, if you think about it this way, what problem do they have? How do you uniquely take care of that problem with your business? I mean, there's lots of other vets out there, there's lots of other businesses. How do you do it uniquely compared to some of the other people there,
Right.
so that they pick you instead of someone else, so that that problem that they becomes something that they're have the happy outcome, that
Happy about, right.
And so whatever that is, you try to wrap language around that in your marketing, on your business cards, and like all of the language around that, all of the decisions that you make in your business all pertain to the promise that you deliver every day, day in and day out. So that it should be really simple for anybody that's working with you, anybody who's part of this team, to understand that when we're making these decisions today, we have to keep in mind that it relates to our promise, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
if it doesn't, we're out of whack, we're out of alignment, and that's where some issues happen, right? And if this promise isn't always sort of brought up at every time you get together and meet, then you stray. It's easy to stray. And
now, would you, Pete, let me ask you this. I'm going to probably get to in the details, but so we start with the happy thoughts and the happy situations, and then do you actually literally repeat the promise and the why, or is it more of, does it go along with that, I guess? Or would you just every meeting start with, let's talk about our why? Or our
usually
promise?
in some way, shape, or form, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can branch it up. Like we have like if we're sitting down for a quarterly meeting, we have what we call the heart of Shoetopia. I'll just use our shoe stores, for example. We have this.
I remember you have shoe stores.
Yeah. So, we have the heart of Shootopia, and it's like got 3 rings, and it's like all in a shape of a heart. And all those different things that we do come into the center, and the center of that is our customer, right? And so all of those, so we look at that and it's like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about today, right? The heart of Shootopia, all of these processes, all of the different products, all those different things that are coming in to satisfy that the very heart of this model is our client. And you can frame it up any way you want. Like we'll talk at Shootopia when we have those meetings, and I'm using that because Simplifying Entrepreneurship is basically me, where Shootopia I'm running a team of a variety of different people, and we have a couple of stores and what have you. So when we sit down on those meetings and our meeting rhythms, and we'll talk about those, but like I'm thinking right now of a quarterly meeting. So we just had our quarterly meeting, and we've started actually doing monthly meetings instead of quarterly meetings recently. So instead of doing a full day every quarter, we're doing half days every month. And that's just something we've recently switched. So we had our monthly meeting, I guess I should say, on Friday. And we sit down, and on that, we have the sheet. So we go through good news, and then we have our sheet, and here's our sheet, and everybody looks at it and it's like, yep, that's what it is. That's what we do, right? And so we've got a few different things. And in the middle of that, we've also captured with 9 letters what that means. And that means, if we're making our client look great and feel fantastic, there's 4 words that captures what all the decisions that we're trying to make. We're trying to buy stuff that's going to help our clients look great and feel fantastic, right? And deliver that kind of service. What does feel fantastic mean? What does look great mean? And what brands are there? And what's experience that we're doing? Because these are the things we talk about in our meeting,
and the quality of your product, and it all comes back to that. So the ooh, the ah, and the aha, I've even brought it out too. So what does it feel like? The ooh is when you look in the mirror and you go, ooh, I look pretty good. Well, that's an experience, right? And you close your eyes and you're standing in your shoes and you go, those feel fantastic. Comfortable. Yeah.
Look great, feel fantastic. you know? So you can emulate some of that stuff. What would people feel like, hear like, sound like, smell like, all those different things. And so that's what you want to capture. And sometimes you want to just capture, it's like the feeling part. We want to revisit the feeling part this time, or we want to revisit this part. So you can capture.
Well, and that's something, when you say feeling part, that is magnified a lot in our business. I mean, obviously you want your shoes to feel good.
Yeah.
But our business is all about feelings.
For sure.
And, when you say that, I'm like, okay, well, if our clients can feel cared for.
Yeah.
And like one of our core values is we want them to feel like family.
Right.
So if they feel cared for and they feel like they're part of our family, then that's part of our promise.
Our key characteristics, one of them says, treat you like family.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And we're a local family shoe store in small towns. Like we're small town businesses. Right. And so that's one of our core values as well, that interlinks. So what does that look like and feel like? So when they pick up their pet and they've paid you and they're walking out the door and they're looking back and they're saying, what's that feeling that I just have here? Yeah. And how do I take that and make sure that we're delivering our experience in that way? Well, those are the kind of things you want to talk about. I'm not saying you bring that up every single meeting, but that's the kind of flavor that you want to be injecting so that all of the decisions that you're making in your meetings kind of come back to the feeling that the person has after they've paid you and left. And are they going to return? Are they loyal? All this other stuff, right? It's so important. And, we look at these meetings. I'll give you the flow that we have.
Yeah. Let's do that. Because I'm thinking there's going to be people out there that either run the meetings, if they're owners or managers, but also there are people that participate in meetings. And if they're not going well, they might be able to make some suggestions to change them, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So,
lay it on me.
Yeah. So whether you have a once a year meeting, like some people will do once a year for a full day or 2 days, depending on their rhythm, right? I call all these meeting rhythms. But when you set a rhythm, it doesn't have to be set forever in a day. You can change it. We just changed our quarterly rhythm to a monthly rhythm because we found we wanted to meet more, but for shorter time.
Right. Yeah.
It's uniquely yours, whatever that rhythm is.
Yeah. We do monthly at my practice.
Yeah. So we've gone from quarterlies, full days offsite to monthlies, half days offsite. We meet on a Wednesday morning and we kind of power through stuff for the month. And what does that look like? Well, we literally go through our 5 Ps. We talk about our promise. We talk about our product. So, or in your case, your services. What are we doing really well? What needs to be changed? What do we need to add in? What maybe do we not want to do anymore? Which is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Like,
what are we going to do?
Just because you've done something forever in a day doesn't mean that you have to continue to do it.
Now, would you talk about that at every meeting then? What do we want to stop doing? That's a great question, because I'll bet you that a lot of us don't do that.
We dig into, your product or your service.
Yeah.
So it's literally on the agenda. The agenda starts off and it's like good news. The next one is promise. The next one is product. The next one is process. The next one is people, right? So we go through those products, those services, blah, blah, blah. And at the monthlies, we dig down deeper because we do the same thing at our weeklies. Right. Okay. We just hit it in a different sort of
shorter
and tempo. But now we can do a little deeper dive into some of these things, right? And we might pull in some data. We might pull in some metrics. We might have, is this worth doing? Is this not worth doing? Let's have a conversation amongst the decision makers here. Is this still aligned with what we're promising to our clients? Are they happy with the end result and all that sort of stuff? So you dig into that. The next part, you take that and then you go into process. Okay, what isn't working these days?
Yeah.
That's usually where it starts. It's like, we're not saying, hey.
And I hate to say this, but at a lot of team meetings that I've participated in, either in my practice or others, their biggest problem is that that's all they talk about is what isn't going well.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of the meetings get really negative, because they don't start, like you said, positively.
Right.
and try to focus on some of the positives. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to get yourself in the right mindset before you dig into some of those, right?
Yeah.
And are there usually some things that need to be fixed? For sure.
Or you would have to have a meeting, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to make any change, there's no point in having a meeting.
Right.
And I mean, that's what meetings are about. They're about change, and change with the understanding that you know why you're changing. And that's the importance of the promise.
And not just for change's sake, right?
So we kind of get into the process side of things, and really the same sort of thing. It's like, well, some processes we've been doing for 1, 2, 5, 3, 10 years, and they're no longer relevant. Things have changed. And are we actually changing the processes to accommodate that? Has our promise changed a little bit, and what we used to do isn't in alignment anymore after all the stuff that's gone on in the last couple of years? Have we changed some of those things, but we haven't updated the manuals? People still are a little bit fuzzy about what it is we can do, what it is we aren't doing, those kind of things. Let's clarify, because in order to go back with some of that stuff, we can't move ahead and we can't give confidence to our team and communicate confidence to our team if there isn't absolute clarity.
Right.
So
we talked a little bit about that before. Yeah. It's so important. And sometimes the leaders think it is clear, and it often isn't.
The problem is
having that open communication, like fostering that ability is a big thing. Yeah.
Julie, for those that are watching, I don't have a whole lot of hair on my head, and I was pointing in my head when I've pulled it all out already. But it's this idea around the fact that without absolute clarity on those things, you can't build confidence for your team.
Yeah.
And it's an important piece of having these meetings so that they help you with the clarity, and that helps them buy into the confidence that you're going to support them with as a leader. Understanding that that this new process or this tweak of the process is going to deliver our promise even better than ever before. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be faster. It's going to be quicker. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to be delivered in a way that gives them that feeling even quicker than before, right. And all of this stuff, that's the process improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then we talk about people.
Okay, stop for a second, because we talked about things that weren't going well.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's just ask a quick question there before we go on to the people. Mm-hmm. If problems are brought up mm-hmm. that you didn't anticipate as the leader, does that happen?
All the time.
And then how do you handle it?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the magnitude of the problem.
Okay.
Right? So,
I'm trying to ask you questions from the perspective of somebody that's out there that's trying to improve their staff meetings or their team meetings. Yeah. And what would they think about asking you? So that's what I'm trying to do here.
So well, first of all, before we meet, my team knows that if they want to table anything, that they table it the day before we meet, so that everybody knows it's going to be tabled.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I like that. That's kind of how we do it too. So that
things typically don't come up that are super big,
right,
Julie, that we don't already know about.
Right.
Because they aren't tabled. And if they do, then we can maybe address them a little bit, but we set them aside for the next meeting so that we can press through what's the priority for this meeting that everybody's already agreed to.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I like that, because if you can acknowledge that, yes, this is a problem, but we need time to think it through before we can actually work on it together as a team, that makes people feel heard, but also that you're going to come back to it at the next meeting. I think that is like a key, rather than, oh, we can't talk about that, it's too much or whatever. So, okay. I like
it's that. Never too much. It's just maybe not the right time.
Right. Or we're just not ready.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes you got to think things through before you can make a decision.
So everybody who's involved with the meeting knows in our organization that if they want something brought up at that meeting, they need to give 24-hour notice for it to be put on the agenda.
On the
And
agenda. Yeah.
and yes, we leave some time to talk about some stuff and to, chat about things
Wait a little
and
bit. Yeah.
to, and brainstorm a bit about what could be upcoming.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just sabotage a meeting unless something's really come up in the last 24 hours. It just has to be dealt with. And could that happen? Sure, it could happen, but that's a managerial discretion.
It's rare. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I stopped you.
No, it's great.
I wanted to go to that. So now we're talking about the people.
Yeah.
That's
So we go back to people. And so a part of every meeting, it's a part of every meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people, as we go back to that earlier conversation, really is around your clients, your team, and all of the outsourced suppliers that help deliver your promise. Right?
See, and that's one we forget, I think, as veterinarians. We forget the other people, the drug reps and the service people or whatever, right?
Your landlord. I mean, could be anybody who's helping to, like,
right.
if you're having issues with the landlord and there's some stuff that your managers have to deal with there. I mean, that's part of that people conversation, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It's important. And so, it's your marketing people, your bookkeeper, could be anybody that's an outsourced partner, right? So we talk about people and it's like, okay, let's bring up, and this is an opportunity for another round of, if you feel you need it, another round of positive influence. Tell me your best customer story last week after we've gone through some process downers. It's like, okay.
I like that because you really do. You feel it in meetings that it'll go up and down, right?
Yeah.
Like I've done so many meetings in my lifetime, and some of them are so great and some of them are so terrible, but they do kind of wave. Yeah.
Sure.
I like that.
So you can kind of pull it back in and say, okay, we need 2 good stories of best clients last week, and our best, things. And then we're going to dig into people. And so we dig into people and it's like, okay, we need to hire 3 people and we need to do this and we need to do that. So we're going to dig into that. We need an assistant vet tech and we need to have somebody new on the front desk. And then we need to talk about our reps because the medical rep for this particular drug isn't providing us what we need, or we need a product knowledge session to come in so that we are better trained and informed on what it is we have to administer, those kind of things. And how are we going to set this up with this person in order to make this stuff happen so that we can deliver our promise to our clients?
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we talk about profit, and it's like, what's happening here? Are we making our numbers? Are we doing, let's get into the sort of the sales side of things, and what's happening there, and what do we need to do from that side of things? And depending on where you're sitting, this is your opportunity to open up into all of the marketing side of things and sales process and a lot of that kind of thing too. So you can kind of pack away because you can you can inject those back into process, back into people. Those other areas of your business you can bring back into the 5 Ps, or you can kind of take them out and set them aside on a different, like operational stuff is more process stuff. But I find sales stuff and marketing stuff is usually sort of intermingled in amongst some of those different ones too. So those kind of chats, because you need to have the chats about that stuff as well, is all part of those monthlies. And then you're doing it, then you take it down. We meet on the months that we're not meeting for the half day on Wednesday, we meet for an hour, same time, same rhythm. Try to keep the same rhythm. Wednesday mornings. Right. And Wednesday mornings, we meet for an hour as that same group. And sometimes it's on Zoom, sometimes it's live. It doesn't really matter. The medium is not as important as the conversation, but we go through the same things, the 5 Ps. We break down our quarterly goals and our yearly goals and take a little look and what's our chunk for this week to do this? What are we putting out? What are we dealing with? Oh, we're hiring a new part-time person. Oh, we're, when we had our meeting last week, did we accomplish? And what are we going to do now? That's usually the weekly rhythm. It's like we look back at last week's notes. Everybody's agreed to what they were going to do. Did you get it done? Yeah, we got it done. Everybody's accountable. Big word, accountable. And, you know, everybody's got their stuff done. Yes. If you didn't get it done, how come?
Yeah. What
Didn't
happened?
get it done.
Mhm.
Well, you know, so and so did this or so. Okay, that's good. That's fine. So it's going to stay on this week and we're going to ask next week until it's done. Right.
Right.
So it's this accountability rhythm that you come into as well, but
Mhm.
always in alignment with that month and with that year and with that other stuff. So everything you're working together and everybody has that flow of what's happening.
Yeah.
That's an hour. We do that for an hour. And sometimes it's only a half an hour. Like
Right.
that meeting, depending on what's happening and what's going on and how big the projects are and some of that stuff, it ranges. The weeklies are between a half an hour and an hour for our team,
Hmm.
whereas the monthlies are a half day offsite.
Yeah.
And then I have a daily rhythm too. And the daily rhythm is like this for that same team, my management team. We use a wonderful tool called Voxer, and Voxer is a voice app. Vox,
Mm.
VOX.
Yeah. I've used that before, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I love it. I'm a vocal person. We were talking before we hopped online here about
Well, you have a really
whether.
good voice. You have like that radio voice or something. So
Well, thanks.
yeah, you
And
do.
you know, some people are audio, some people are visual, some people
Yes.
are like to read, some people want to watch the video. But from this side of things, I love Vox because it's its own channel that you can use within your team. And I hate tapping or typing and all this stuff on all the different things.
Texting.
I
Yeah.
just want to talk
Hmm.
because the beauty of the voice is that tone comes through,
Hmm.
and tone gets misrepresented on almost every email or every text,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
There's a lot of communication faux pas in texting and even autocorrect. Then it gets
Yep.
really scary and dangerous.
Yeah. So, and for that reason, I love to talk with
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. So
Hmm.
it's like a walkie-talkie. You hit the record, and you say what you're going to say. And so our daily rhythm is each of my managers sends me the three things that they're what we call their prime priorities. What are your three prime priorities for the day?
Hmm.
And did you accomplish your three prime priorities from yesterday? So they start off and they say, hey, you know, it's Jen.
Yeah.
And I got two out of the three things we talked about yesterday done. I'm going to still work on the other one. And today's prime priorities are boom, boom, boom.
So
That's
you
all I need.
know what they're working on in any given
Right.
day.
And it's literally that long. Like
Yeah. Just real quick.
almost every day when they Vox me, my Voxers,
Love
because
it.
I talk a lot, are way longer than theirs. And so they literally lay it out in probably 30 seconds. I got 2 of 3 done yesterday or 3 of 3 done yesterday. And here's my 3 things that I'm working on today. And so I listen to them whenever. I don't have to be live. I can listen
Right.
to them after I'm done this podcast,
Right.
and or you know, they're there and they can attach stuff. Here's the picture. Oh, I'm working on this back wall. Click, here's the picture, and they can talk then and say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this, this, and this."
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
So, you
That's
know, and
useful.
now from a leadership perspective, the communication is still flowing. It's
Mhm.
flowing asynchronously, which is really good because we don't all have to be there at the exact same time, the exact same moment. Everybody can do it when they get in that day.
Yeah.
And everybody in the management team is in the loop with what each other is doing because they're all part of that group chat.
Yeah. So the other people can hear what they're saying to you. Okay, cool. I love it.
So we set it up as a group chat. We just call it the manager's group chat. But
Hmm.
there's the individuals too, where I can just talk to Julie back and forth, right? Like as
Right.
we're talking about a side project or whatever.
Right.
But there's the group chats too, and the group chats we just share those in the group chats. I give them the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like here's the 3 things I'm working on today. I may not be working in Shootopia, but I've got a podcast with Julie, and I've got 2
Right.
coaching calls, and you know,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, whatever the case is. So they know where I'm at too, and if they need me, they can call upon me when, you know, when I'm not, and they can see my schedule and all that sort of stuff anyway.
Right.
But so I think the big thing here, Julie, when we talk about meeting rhythms, is communication is key to running a good business. It's healthy.
It's the key,
Don't
it's
meet.
the key to everything, I
It
think, don't
is.
you? good
Yeah.
relationships, good businesses. Yeah. Communication is big.
And without it, we can't expect people to know what we're thinking. We can't expect people to know what's, you know, you can't expect them to know what's in your head if you're not actually communicating what you need them to do and what you want from the business. So clarifying those goals of where are we taking this business, what are we wanting to do with it, how are we developing this stuff. Everybody wants to know because they want to know where they stand in the organization to move ahead. They want to be accountable for their piece of the organization to help deliver the promise. That's where you get the loyalty, the built in, when everybody's involved in those sort of communications and building these plans together as a team, not just you as the leader telling
They feel
them,
valued. They're going to be more
yeah,
likely to work hard for you. Yeah.
hey,
That's why I want to encourage people, if you're listening and you are running a business, to share that financial information. I know a lot of people are afraid to do that, but if you don't let them know what's going on financially with your business, it's not, your communication isn't going to be as clear as you would like it to be.
yeah,
You can't hide that stuff.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't hide it.
that's why, profit's that last one there. And everybody should understand where they stand with helping deliver profit to the business, because they want to have confidence that the business is profitable, doing really well, and that they're a piece of that.
Right.
Right.
For
Everybody
sure.
wants to feel secure in their job. And if you're not letting them know that, yeah, this is a profitable business and we're doing well here, and you're a big piece of this, and that sort of reciprocity, that without you we couldn't be profitable and all this kind of stuff, and we're all part of this machine put together with your company banner on top.
Yeah, because we can't do it alone, for sure.
Whew. Yeah.
I don't even know how to do a lot of this stuff in my business. I'll be
Likewise.
like, I don't know how to do this. I need help, because there's other people that do it. I don't do it. That's fine.
When I go into our stores, it's like a running joke. Don't let Pete behind the point of sale system.
He doesn't know how to sell shoes.
He can work with the clients, but then we'll ring them through.
Yeah. We'll make sure we get the right amount of money, because Pete will mess it up.
Yeah. I mean, whatever the case is.
I don't know how to charge out a client. I have no idea. I used to, but I don't know.
Likewise. And we have the processes there. Could I do it? I could do it. And I go back through and figure it out. It's no problem. I mean, our processes are in place and they are there.
Right.
But
you don't need.
I've assigned accountability for that stuff. And that's the only way I've been able to get my freedom. And that's the biggest thing when we talk about business ownership, is that you own your business and it shouldn't own you. And if you feel as though you have to be a part of every one of those decisions and every one of those checkout points along your business, then you're never going to experience any freedom.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Okay. So I think that's a really good formula for team meetings. Like, you gave us a really good, this is how I should do it. So I'm going to go back and examine the way we do ours and make some tweaks, because I think a lot of the things you suggested are helpful.
Yeah. I mean, if you put things in blocks like that, whatever those blocks are for your business, the nice thing about that is that you just take the time down. So if you have a half day, you spend an hour on something instead of 10 minutes in a 1 hour communication, right? So you're going through the same, everybody wants to know the rhythm. They want to know what's going to be brought up.
Feel comfortable that they understand what's going on, right?
They know we're going to they know we're going to start with good news.
So they're prepared.
And that's something too. It's like, okay, guys, like, don't tell me you don't have any good news, because we do this every
I know.
meeting.
Sometimes I spring that on my team. I'm like, okay, now we're going to say something great. I want everyone to say something great. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, because I didn't warn them. But
yeah. So, a lot of times now they'll come, you can tell they've already scripted their good news, like in their head, because they know they're going to get asked.
Right. Yeah, I love it.
That's
good though.
But you're going to get asked.
What you're doing by doing that, Pete, is now they have to think about it, and they're going to be looking for the good.
Yeah.
And as someone that coaches people's minds,
Mhm.
just the fact that they're looking for good stuff for the meeting that's a bonus, because it will make them more optimistic. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love
And they know we're going to talk about the product or service in your case.
right.
They know we're going to talk about the process. They know we're going to talk about the people. And so they're already thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And even when,
Genius.
when you ask them the day before, what have you got to table for this meeting? They'll come back and they'll say, in the process side of things, we should talk about this. Oh
Mm,
yeah. When we're talking about product, can we talk about this? Or when we're talking about people, we should table this.
yeah.
Great. So
Perfect.
you're building my schedule for me when I
Yeah.
run this meeting, and everybody's more comfortable with it because they know the rhythm.
Right.
And it's the same rhythm at the monthly meeting as it is at the weekly meeting. It's the same.
Just on a
And
little
then
different scale.
when we dive down to the 3 priorities of the day, they're just they're really all pertaining to those things all the time.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
keeps going back to it, right?
Yeah. I love it. That's great. Cool. So do we have more time, or do you want to there?
It's
Because
up
I
to
think
you.
we thought we wanted to do one more thing, right? Do we want to talk a little bit about time management?
Yeah, if you want to kind of go into free time, focus time, flex time, we can certainly chat about that.
Okay. Do you think that we should split it into another podcast, or do you want to just go
It's
for
your
it?
podcast, Julie.
Well, I just don't know how long you're going to want to talk about it, but let's
I
just do
can
it.
I can have that conversation just like this past one. I mean,
Yeah.
I can have a conversation on almost any of these topics, anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour. So it's up to you.
Okay. Well, let's start, since I think we're not going too long yet. Let's start down that road of talking about a little bit about time management.
Sure.
And then if we think we're getting too much in the weeds, then we can do another one another day, right?
Yeah. So from the and you can see like already even from today's conversation that it blends into the last conversation. I mean, all this stuff does
Well,
blend in.
yeah. I mean, if you get this kind of schedule figured out for your staff meetings, it's going to save you time
For sure.
the way you
Yeah.
do it. Yeah,
Right.
for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go into it a little bit.
Okay, cool.
So, what's your first? I'll start with a question. What would be your first thought when I say at a veterinary hospital, we just don't have time to do anything because we're at the mercy of the people that want to come in the door?
Yeah. You could say the very same thing about retailers. I mean,
Right. Well, it is the same. I mean, I see a veterinary hospital as a retail store.
sure.
What we're selling
Yeah.
is health to your
Mhm.
pets. We're
Yeah.
selling preventative care. We're selling, medical services. And we also sell product. Like we have products that people
For
buy,
sure.
ear cleaners and medications and,
Food.
food, dog
Yeah, we
food.
get all of our food at our vets.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is the same. Business is business. It's just
Yeah.
a little bit different
I
product
think
that we're selling.
what would I say when somebody says we don't have time?
Yeah, like what if I came to you and you were going to coach me and I said, Pete, I just don't have any time.
Yeah.
Like
I
you
would say
don't
your
understand.
processes.
I don't have
I'd say you don't have the right processes in place.
Okay, good. I love it.
And
So
then
what do I have
you
to
haven't
do
assigned,
to fix it?
yeah. And then you haven't assigned those processes to the right person, right?
Yeah.
Accountability.
Somebody that's accountable, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so time management really revolves around, I've got this, I mean, it's a couple of different things. I've
Yeah,
got
I
this
know there's
one
a
thing.
lot. So no
Yeah.
pressure. We have plenty
Yeah.
of time. I can
So
even split this recording into two. So let's
yeah,
just go.
from the time management side of things, we're speaking for the most part to owners of their practice. And I realize there's other people listening as well, managers and
Right.
people working within their practice. But if you look at it from an owner's perspective, I really look at time management as you own your business and it shouldn't own you. And I've said that before.
Right.
So what is it that you actually truly love to do and be doing that all of the time? So I've got a form basically, and it's this practice that we go through. I call it love it or leave it, and really understanding what you truly love, because when you're doing what you truly love, it doesn't even feel like work.
Right.
It
And that's why
actually,
most of us went into vet med, because we thought we would love it, right?
it gives you energy instead of pulls the energy from you. So,
Right.
I mean, even if you take it down to, certain pieces, it's like, okay, well, I want to do, I'm unfamiliar with all of the different things that vets do,
That
but
we
let's,
do.
let's just say I really like doing the in and out visits, but I don't want to do operations,
Right. Yep. So
or
surgery or
yeah, you
exam.
know,
Yep.
and so if you're, or maybe you love the surgeries, it's like, I don't want to deal with the public, I just want to deal with the table.
For
Right.
sure. Yeah.
And,
Well,
and,
and
and
that's true.
yeah,
Everybody's a little different. Yeah.
right. So, and it doesn't matter what your love is, just understand what it is and do more of that and less of the other stuff,
Right.
because that's where you're going to start feeling really, really good about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and understanding your zone of genius, as some people would put it, but I call it love it or leave it. So being in your love it zone as much as you can for your work week, and parsing off all of the leave it stuff, all the stuff that you either don't love doing, maybe you're really good at it but you don't love it,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you're really not that great at it and you don't love doing it, but you kind of have to because it's your practice and blah, blah, blah. At least you
Part of the
feel as though you
job.
have to,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of things, it's like, those are the things you want to align the process with. And once the process is really honed down, you want to be assigning accountability to somebody else on the team who probably actually loves doing that. Just because you don't doesn't mean they don't.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And that's a fascinating that you say that, because I'm a big proponent of learning what your team does well and
Mm-hmm.
what they like to do. And I think
Yeah.
at your team meetings, you can find that out if
Yeah.
you listen and ask the right questions, and then you can assign the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I
Love
hate
that.
putting stuff together because I hate detail. Like if a
Mm.
piece of equipment comes in and it needs assembly, I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
But I have a tech that loves that. So if we have a table or a chair or anything that needs to be put together, I immediately call her and she's so excited.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like,
And so you've
this is
actually done
good.
her a favor,
Oh
right?
yeah, she loves it. She gets
Exactly.
excited.
So you
Yeah.
can think of it even from a bookkeeping perspective. It's like,
Yes.
I've got a couple of business degrees, and I could pretty easily have at the time I got those, spent maybe another 3 months and became a certified accountant.
Right.
I don't like doing book work. I'm good at it. I understand it really, like, I really understand it quite well, and I just don't like it. It's
Right.
not my love it zone. And after I've sat down with my books for like a half a day and gone through stuff, I feel as though I've spent a week there,
It
not a
drains
half
your
day.
energy.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
sucks the life out of me.
Right.
I'm good at it, but it sucks the life out of me. So do
Mhm.
I want to be spending my time doing that kind of work every day so that I lose even more hair than I have? No. Like, I don't, you know, I want to be working in the area that at the end of the day makes me feel like I haven't even worked
Right.
and that I've really contributed, and all of the other stuff. Right. So, you lay out this kind of stuff in the way and understand your business, understand yourself, so that you're propping up your business in your area that you really love, and let some of the other people on your team, and that's team management from a leadership perspective, understanding and grouping the team together that's going to be providing all these different vital areas, so that it's their loved zones and your loved zone all together in alignment with your promise. Right.
Right. Yeah. So in order to get to the point where you're spending less time
Mm.
either in your business or
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that apply to your like work-life balance kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because we talk about that a lot,
Gosh. Yeah.
the different, you want to be home or you
Mhm.
don't want to be at work as much
Yep.
and that kind of thing. How do you
So
see that?
I've created an entrepreneurial calendar planner, essentially called the One Page Planner. Happy to share it with
Yes. I
anybody.
think we talked about that a little bit on the
Yeah.
last podcast.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
I love it.
on that planner, I've set up sort of 3 time zones, and those time zones that you have to be conscious about are your focus time, your flex time, and your free time. And for people in our business, like in retail or people in practice, you could also add a 4th time, which is floor time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we understand the times, these buckets of time in our calendar,
We all have the same, right?
there's only 24
4
hours in the day,
hours, right?
right?
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't buy more and you can't use less.
No, and believe me, I've tried.
But you can buy other people's time, which is interesting.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, so, and that frees your time up, right? So, and it's up to you then to use it wisely and the way that you want to. But even when you do get that time back, you're gonna put it into one of these buckets.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want for free time? And take it back to, how much free time do I want over the course of a year? Like, a lot of entrepreneurs were like, well, maybe I'll take 100 days off this year. Well, 100 days off. I mean, if you just take weekends, that's 104,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
How much time do you want off? I mean, 100 sounds like a lot, but everybody gets that, right? So, but if you look at it, are you, as the owner of your business, actually taking 100 days off a year?
Not usually. Yeah.
Well, but all of your team does.
Right.
So is your business working for you or not? These are the kind of things that start making me think, maybe I need to make some changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think that is a really good way to think about it too, because if you don't actually count the hours or the days or whatever you have off, everybody thinks that they don't have enough free time. Yeah. But they usually leave their scheduling their free time till last, right?
Right.
Like they get all their work done and then they think what's ever is left over is the free time, when really you can schedule it the other way.
Yeah. So you can schedule, you can block. I like time blocking. I use Google Calendar and I time block stuff, you know. But you know, are you time blocking in the morning? Are you time blocking in the afternoon? Like, what's your most productive time? And you want to value that and savor that productive time for your focus time.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
This time that you need to be focused and all in and doing what you're doing, your money making stuff, the stuff that actually, you know, pushes things ahead. That's your time. Don't let anybody else take that from you. Turn off your notifications, close your door, you know, turn off your screens, whatever it is you're focusing on, make sure that you don't have interruptions, because every time you're interrupted, it takes you about 15 to 20 minutes to get back in that flow of focus.
Well, and sometimes you never get back.
Right.
Like you'll just quit because your brain will be like, ugh, I just ruined this. So I guess I'll just give up. That's what we do, right?
You know, we have to set up these different areas of our time management with conscious thought, or else it just blends. So the next piece is flex time. Are you allowing yourself flex time? And flex time is the time that you use to either get better prepared for your focus time or better prepared for your free time. Okay. Because free time is also yours and yours alone. It's for you to do what you want to do. That's why they call it free time. It's not for you to do the groceries. The groceries, that's flex time for me.
Yeah. Because you're getting prepared to eat.
Right. You know, so it's like, that's not free time. So if Saturday is my day off and all I'm doing is running around doing chores, that's a flex day. That's not a free day.
Right. Now, when you do your time blocking, do you schedule each one of these things into each day, or it doesn't really matter?
Again, that depends on your rhythm. It
depends on how you feel about it.
Yeah. So, you know, some people say, no, you got to do it by the day. It's like, this is a day and blah, blah, blah. I'm not like that.
Each chunk in each day.
Yeah.
I don't think that would work for me either.
No. But you have to be conscious about the fact it's like, okay, well, I'm taking this afternoon off. And maybe, golf season's opening here shortly. Maybe I'm going to go play golf. Well, golf is free time for me.
Right.
There's no phone. There's no blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm going to go with my buddies and I'm going to take a half day of free time today. And that's going to golf or going on the ski. Like in the winter, I ski. So it's like, I'm taking off this afternoon and I'm going skiing. Well, that's a half day free time for me.
Yeah.
Right. So that's free time. It's doing something that I truly want to do.
You like. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it would be riding my bike or something. Yeah.
Right. I mountain bike, same sort of thing. It's like, off we go. Right. So and that's free time. It's different than flex time. And what people often do is they say, well, I had 2 days off, but I painted the house. I did all this other stuff and
the kids, took them to the doctor's office, like all the things that moms do. Yeah.
That's not free time. So flex time is that time where you're doing the chores and stuff, aligning so that you can be fully focused in focus time and fully free in free time.
Mm-hmm. And then the floor time, you're talking about work.
Floor time.
Being at work, like literally there.
Yeah. So floor time is interesting. And, for people who have assigned accountabilities for everything in their business, they generally have assigned themselves out of floor time. So, for example, I don't have any store hours at either of my stores, with rare exception. I was asked earlier this month, could I cover 2 Saturdays, sort of half shifts this month at one of our stores because we were short and people were off and it was Easter weekend and that sort of stuff. It's like, absolutely, I'll cover, no problem. I'm there. Right. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I'm rarely ever on an actual shift on any of my stores. I've relieved myself of that. But that doesn't mean that I don't spend quality floor time in my stores. I'm just not on the schedule.
Right. So you could show up there and hang out and talk to the customers and see how it's going and talk to your employees. Yeah, I think that's really important because I think sometimes business owners think that once you get to that point where you have enough people working for you that you don't have to actually do it. I've seen managers do that. They just want to sit in the back and hide. And it's like, no, you have to kind of be there. You kind of got to watch what's going on. You kind of have to, see what's going on the floor.
It's so important. Floor time's so important. It's a piece because when we align, we have our meetings and we align our product, we align our process, we align our people, all that stuff. If you don't have floor times, you're not really in the know.
Right. Yeah. And it will get away from you.
Right. Yeah. And the flip coin of that, Julie, is if you're spending your entire day on the floor every day.
Yeah.
If you're practicing 35 to 55 hours a week, there's problems.
Yeah. Well, and that is something, it's a little bit hard for veterinarians to grasp because so much of our job is the hands-on stuff, but really like I got really good. I mean, I'm pretty good at not working in my practice, but during COVID, it was kind of like we were so busy that I really couldn't do anything other than what only I could do.
Yeah.
So it was like the techs had to draw all the blood and give all the vaccines and do everything. And I was to the point where I was like examining the pets, because that's what I have to do, prescribing the drugs, and then basically just telling the techs what to do. I want you to do this, 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 and this, and then let me know the results. And I'm going to go on to the next one. So I think that vets have to realize that even though they want to feel relaxed and that they're going to be able to kind of chit chat and do all the things in the exam room, that's really not your best use of your time. It really is just doing what you absolutely have to do.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what I call managerial discretion.
Yeah.
And, depending on where everything's at, and that's the beauty of being there at the floor, and you have the pulse of what's happening, and you can either turn it on or turn it off or turn it down or turn it up, depending on what you need to do. If everybody else is doing their thing, and you're there just to kind of help push things along and roll through things in different ways, you're there to aid and assist in any given way in order to get that customer through and deliver the promise in a more efficient way.
Yeah.
And to me, that's when you're in the owner's box.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the owner's box there and you're not managing it, because you have managers managing things. And in fact, more often than not, the manager's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I've said that before. I'm like, if somebody could just boss me around, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Tell me what room to go in. I say that to my texts all the time. Which room am I going to? And they'll say, you're in 2. All right, cool. I'll go to 2. And then Perfect. What's going on with this client? Oh, we don't have enough people. Well, then I'll go get it. I don't have anything to do. I'm going to go out and get that pet. Yeah. That's when I think it's fun.
That's when processes are in place that allow you to free yourself up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in times of craziness, you're the owner. You got to go and do it.
Right. Sometimes you got to pick up the poop.
You got to do it. Right. We're in business. It's ultimately we're the person that, is the ultimate responsibility. But, for every day, it's not necessarily the case, but when push comes to shove, you're there. Right. And that's your ownership attitude that you need to have. Yeah. But from that perspective, when I go into our stores, I rarely lead the charge. In fact, I'm just a peon, and they tell me what to do. Can you go help that lady? Sure. Can you do this? For sure. Yeah. And they'll, the chats that we're going to have that are managerial are planned in our meeting structures that we have.
So you're not doing that when you're on your floor time. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We have a meeting rhythm that allows for that. And when I go to the stores, I'm either with my clients, or I'm with my team, or with my suppliers, those 3 people, those 3 different levels of people. So I'm having, chats with my suppliers, I'm having chats with my team, or I'm having chats with my clients. Right. And I don't even bring a computer to my store. They gave my little cubicle away to somebody else. So I work out of the home for the most part, but when I do go to the stores, I'm with my team. I'm with my clients. And there's no point in me going and working in what I could do here at the home office in a back room where nobody's going to see me anyway. I might as well just do it here at home.
Yeah. Well, and I think that if people, take this to heart and really think about where they're using their time, and then schedule it, like you said, and if they can go to get your scheduler on your website, so we'll tell them where to get that. But I just think thinking about the fact that if you're in your business and things are running and you feel like you don't really have that much to do, that's a good thing, right? Because everybody else has got it.
It is a good thing, because that's where creativity starts to happen too.
Yeah.
And it's like, now that we've got this running really well,
now that we have all these processes, now we can even do more. I love that.
That's why I've always had multiple businesses on the go, because I get them to a certain point where they seem to be running, and it's like, what can we do now?
What can I do with the rest of my time? I can start another business.
It can be dangerous, but also exciting. And I think, that's the entrepreneurial nature for those of us who did get into business, is this kind of idea. It's like, how can we make other people's lives better? Yeah. And I think, it doesn't matter whether you're helping them with their pets, or in my case, I'm helping entrepreneurs kind of get through sort of all this conundrum and frustration and everything, and trying to free them up and helping them free up so that they can do stuff that they want to do and have better lives and businesses. But it doesn't matter what that next step is until you actually have things in a position that you are freed up from that. You won't allow yourself the creativity to think of what could be.
Yeah. I love it. Be more creative.
I think it's an important piece as we continue to change.
Well, it is, because that's the only way that innovation happens, and that's the only way that your business gets better. If you can just imagine it being different. And if you're stuck in the weeds, you don't have time for that.
So much has changed over the last 2 years, Julie, in every industry.
Mhm.
Sure, you're still working on cats and dogs and
Yeah.
pets,
Yeah, but
doing like,
telemedicine, we never thought we'd be doing telemedicine.
yeah,
And I was sick last week and I was supposed to be at work on Saturday. And so I called them like, you guys don't want me there. I
no,
sound terrible. I'm sneezing. I'm coughing. You guys don't want me there. I said, but call all the clients, see if they're willing to do telemedicine because you're all there.
yep,
Got all the employees there. I said, we can go back to COVID and do some telemedicine if they want. And that way we can solve this problem. And
yeah.
that's what we did. And it worked beautifully. We only had a
So,
couple clients that had to reschedule when I was back in the office, but for the most part, we were able to run a normal good Saturday with me not even being there. They would
so
just
how many?
FaceTime me and it was great.
This is an interesting thought. How many do you think you got through 70% of your client load that day?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
That was probably about right. 60 to
Okay.
70% I was
Okay.
able to do.
So if you had another vet at the shop, let's just say, just think about the potential of doing telemedicine every day,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And then
Seriously.
that 30% is going to continue to go to the shop, your clinic,
Mhm.
and the 70%. How many people could you get through and accommodate virtually, and the capability of that, the reach of that? How many more, like, instead of serving 10 miles around your clinic, you're now serving,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
There's a little bit of a conundrum because a lot of the things we do, we have to be hands-on, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so because my employees were at the hospital
yeah,
and I was at home
yeah,
only, they could
yeah,
actually physically do, like I would
right,
say, show me the ear, swab
yeah,
the ear, like I could tell them what I needed to see and then what to do. However, that's where we're going. Like we're
yeah,
getting better at doing those kind of things. And I think just that innovation that came from having
love
to
it.
do it during COVID. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And I think it's time now that we can kind of go back and look at some of these things, and you take a look at the wins and the losses of some of that stuff, and how do we want to further the wins
Right.
without having the losses, now that we know what we were forced to do this.
Yeah. What
So
we
what are we
can
going to
and
take
cannot
away
do.
that's going to give us another 10, 15, 20, 50% more business or
Right.
capability into our business that we
Yeah.
currently have in bricks and mortar at your clinic?
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
So cool.
I know it's great, isn't it?
It
Well,
is.
this has been so fun and I love all your ideas and I love all of the recommendations that you're making. So if anybody out there wants to be coached by
Mhm.
either Pete or I, Pete does the entrepreneurial coaching. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to learn more, you can contact him at Simplifying Entrepreneurship. It's a little bit of a mouthful for me sometimes, but
It
I do
is.
love it. And I love having you on this podcast. So any last parting words before we wrap up this?
Well, I've said it once or twice already, but I really feel strongly about this. And I see it a lot in practice.
Yeah, they're getting burned
You,
out, right?
you own your business. It shouldn't own you.
Yep.
And if you
Yep.
feel that your business is owning you and ruling you, then we should chat, and
Yeah.
we should, and or you should take some of these things that we've been discussing over the last couple of podcasts, Julie, and try them,
Yeah.
implement. We can listen and talk and read and all this stuff about all these different ways of doing things, but until you
Take
actually
action.
start doing the work, nothing is going to change.
Yeah. Well, and I would add that if your life is in control of you and you're not in charge of your life,
Hmm.
the same thing applies. You got to work.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah,
what I do with my coaching, right?
yeah, for
So
sure,
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
super important to take those steps. And it's very scary. I get it. It's really
Yeah,
hard to go get coached by somebody, but it's so helpful.
yeah,
And and so I really appreciate everybody listening and hearing what we have to say. And hopefully if you take one action step from this podcast this week, your life will be a little bit better, right?
That's the goal.
Yeah. In your business. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with me today, Pete. I really appreciate it. I love talking to you, and I keep taking notes while we're talking because I get lots of ideas. So
yeah, that's great. That's great.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll do this again one day, and we'll come up with some more things to talk about.
Sweet. Sounds great.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a beautiful week out there, you guys. I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Bye, Pete. Thank you so much.